Welcome back to Relax RV. Hi, my name is Paul. I'm doing a podcast on stress while RVing. And I know none of you have ever experienced anything stressful while RVing. Well, perhaps a little bit. Now, stress means different things to different people, and what stresses one person out may just make another person laugh. And for that, I'm jealous. So let's talk about stress and RVing. Welcome back, everybody. Paul Sebastian, RVer, retired nurse, podcaster. So this is season 2, episode 73, released February 20th, 2022. So welcome to all you new listeners out there. Welcome back to all the long-time listeners. Each month, the number of episode downloads just takes off. So thank you. So I had just finished recording the last episode, and I went to bring some firewood up from the back for the house, and I was going to go move the RV, and of course the RV lock broke. So this is the second time we've had a lock break. Our first rig broke when we were in Nova Scotia, and that was a real fiasco. That was a terrible one. I have a video of that one in the show notes, a link to the video in the show notes here. And this one wasn't so bad. I climbed in the window, took it apart from the inside, and it was very easy to get the lock out. It was not so easy getting the first one. So I have a link to the video on this one in the show notes also. When it happened, this isn't what I had planned to do that day. But as in life and with RVs, things get in the way, right? So I just took a deep breath and said, okay, I'll deal with this as it unfolds. So I went online and I looked at the digital combination locks and talked to the company about their locks and just decided it wasn't worth the extra money. It was like double the price of a regular lock. This one costs like, I don't know, a little over $100, 110 or something. I ordered it from, I don't even remember where. It was a month ago. I don't have it in my show notes here. Oh well. So anyway, took a nice deep breath and just started dealing with it, and took it as it unfolded. And like I said, it wasn't a bad disassembly compared to the first one. So got the lock out, waited a few days for the new one to come in, put it in. I had contacted etrailer to ask them what size lock for this rig, and they didn't answer my question. They just replied that was going to be in a big loop of, look at this, website, and you can enter your rig and all that, and I did, but it didn't say exactly this rig. So as it turns out, the lock is a little smaller, so on the outside where some of the stripes are on the door, they don't match up exactly. and we're not obsessive about stuff like that, so oh well, what can you do? Um, so prior to that, I had started to rip out the valance in the living room. Um, we took out the two valance. We have two main windows in the bedroom. We took those out. We put curtains up, and we really loved it. So in the living room, um, in Christmas, we were down in Jersey watching Washington Cross and the Delaware reenactment, and we were sitting in the living room at night, and it wasn't like bitterly cold, but it was, in the upper 30s, and I guess for some of you that's bitterly cold. And we could feel a draft coming in, so we talked about, maybe ripping out the valance in the living room behind our recliners and put in a curtain, and we decided, why don't we put in a heavier insulated curtain instead of, like the frilly ones in the bedroom. So I started ripping that valance system apart, and when we first bought this rig, there's a video on all the improvements I did to this rig, and one of them was I moved the light switch, which was overhead by the front door, and Trish could barely reach it. So I had moved the light switch down and mounted it on the valance. So now I need to move the light switch again, get it off the valance, which opens up a whole nother can of worms. Again, this is RVing, so it's always a can of worms, isn't it? So I went on Amazon. I found so I went on Amazon to find a light switch box that would hold an extension box that would hold the light switch further off the wall, because now it was going to be wall mounted, and the other one I had cut a hole into the valance for the wires to protrude out the back. So I got the extension box, but then of course the faceplate doesn't match that, so I bought a faceplate, and then that doesn't match the three-way switch because the lights are on a three-way switch. So once again, I contacted etrailer, and they couldn't find a light switch that would work because there isn't one. So I just cut out the center of the faceplate, and I'll make it all fit and look pretty. So then with the wires, we had them hidden behind the valance for the light switch, so I needed to buy some conduit and figure out where I'm going to put the light switch and by the front door, and I just have to mount everything now. So, and then I still have to rip out the valance off of the wall and mount the shade onto the wall because it was originally mounted to the top of the valance. So I'll get all that done in the next week or so, and I'll do a video on it, I guess, and we'll go from there. So it's winter, it's February, it's cold. We had taken delivery of our snowmobile, and we wanted to get some snowmobiling in. So we weren't getting any snow around us. So we went up to Forestport, New York for a few days. We were talking about taking the rig up. The last rig we did winter camping. It was 5 below zero. We did have a pipe freeze. Thank goodness it didn't burst. but we've come to realize, these RVs, yeah, we could do a winter trip with it, and we could do -5, but we wanted it to be focused on snowmobiling, not focused on preventing problems with an RV or dealing with problems with an RV. We also looked at the gas, so we were planning a 3-day trip, and it was about three and a half, excuse me, about 3.5 hours from here. So we looked at the gas mileage of the RV. Even with the 5-star tuner, we're getting 10 miles to the gallon on our Class A, which is not bad at all. However, the gas to get up there and then looking for a campground that's open is difficult, or finding a Boondocker's Welcome that we love. We love Boondocker's Welcome, staying in people's properties. There's a link to that in the show notes too, if you're not familiar. So there was nothing really convenient, no locations really convenient, and we figured between the cost of the gas to get up there, we could just do an Airbnb for about the same amount of money and then not have to worry about the RV. So that's what we ended up doing. And we fell in love with snowmobiling. That's our new RV. Recreational vehicle, right? So then we did another trip to the Catskills, a day trip, and then we went for another day trip to Ringwood State Park in New Jersey, and then another one to Stewart Field in Newburgh, New York, and then another one to Montgomery, New York. There's a county park over there, an Orange County Park. And then we went out to Pennsylvania to Promised Land State Park. That was another day trip snowmobiling. Then we saw the Adirondacks was going to get dumped on with 11 inches of snow, so we planned a trip to Lake George, New York. And I have pictures from a couple of these places on my Instagram account, Relax RV Podcast on Instagram, and there's links in the show notes. So we had booked 4 nights up in Lake George, and we went with a hotel. So being we're retired, snowmobile trails, just like RV parks, get more crowded on the weekends. So we like to do things during the week. So all these trips was during the week, and we figured a hotel wouldn't be bad up in Lake George during the week in February, and it wasn't. It was really quiet. But we realize when we travel with the snowmobile, it's kind of like when we travel with the RV. We're not like most people. Most people like to go back to the same places and become familiar, and it's very easy to plan. You just pick your dates and go, right? We're not like most people. And if you know us personally, you will agree with that. So what we like to do is explore areas. If we're in one area too long, like a few days, we get very bored. And it turns out with snowmobiling, it's the same thing. If we're riding the same trails for, 2 or 3 days, we get bored of those trails and we want to find something new. So we cut that trip short by a day. Instead of 4 nights, we did 3 nights, and that was perfect. I have pictures of Prospect Mountain with the snowmobile, and there's links again in the show notes. So after that, we came home for about a week or so, and then the following week we went up to Tupper Lake, New York. And we had previously booked 4 nights at an Airbnb, but we contacted the host and changed it down to 3. And again, that was a great choice. So we're really enjoying exploring different areas in a different way. But we are really looking forward